became a UU and joined this congregation in 2018, 3 years ago. My husband Keith and I had just moved here after he'd accepted a teaching job at Worcester School. Before that, we'd lived in St. Louis, Missouri for over 30 years, but we'd always talked about moving to New England. Now that we were here, I was looking for great people to hang out with and something to keep me busy. Boy, did I find that. Seriously, all my life I've sought out friends who are honest and don't mind deep discussions about the purpose of life. I felt at home at UUCD from day one. Every day I'm grateful that I finally feel like I've found my niche, my soul home, my spiritual home. And I truly feel honored and blessed to serve as the co-president of the Board of Trustees. I am so glad that you are all able to join us this morning, both online and in person. Our weekly service is not just a physical gathering, it's the forming of a sacred time that we've been making together for 199 years. As we work to build a more just world, and in that sense of sacredness, along with deep respect, we acknowledge that this building is built on the traditional land of the Paugussett people. If you're joining us online, we invite you to introduce yourselves and where you're connecting from in the chat box as you are comfortable. If you're here in person, please fill out a guest card and drop it in the basket on the table in the foyer as you leave today. After our service, we invite those of you visiting in person to stay and take a moment to greet each other, and those of you at home to participate in a breakout group for individual connections and deeper check-ins. And this is the third Sunday of the month, so there will be a board member in the breakout rooms if anyone has any questions or concerns, and that board member will be me today. Yes, I will be online. We welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, whatever your theological stance, whatever your heritage, whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. You can learn more about UU Danbury on our website or on Facebook. We encourage you to share these resources with others who might be feeling isolated and would benefit from the spiritual connection with our loving community. And now for the announcements. The beautiful flowers today are given by Diane Purvis in honor of her mother and father, Jane and Bob Harrington. Also, newcomers are invited to join Reverend Kathleen after the service today in the Fellowship Hall for an informal Get Acquainted session. If you're online, please look for the Zoom link in the chat box at the end of the service to join in the conversation. If you're here in person, you may have noticed the mitten tree in the foyer. Please feel free to stop and get a mitten on your way out. Be sure to leave us the copy with your name on it. We didn't get very many gift requests this year, so there aren't too many mittens, but we're working on getting more. And now I believe Michelle Cousins has a different announcement. Welcome.
All right. Okay. Good morning. So I am Michelle Cousins, co-president along with Margaret, and I also am a member of the Religious Education Ministry team, the REMT. And today I'm speaking to you because we need some folks. We need volunteers for our RE program. And so I'm asking for you to consider helping us out. Whether you've got lots of time or you want to commit to maybe even just one project during the year, no amount of time is too small, and we would really appreciate anything that you'd be able to do for us. Right now, our specific need is with the 6th through 8th graders, so our middle school group. But you are welcome, please, to come forward and speak with Sierra Marie if it seems like RE might be a good fit for you. We'd love to have your help. Did I forget anything? Okay, good. All right, so again, I'd like to welcome you all to our UU Congregation of Danbury, where we welcome all in the spirit of compassion, inquiry, and service. And now I'd like to invite you to join us in singing today, our hymn of welcome, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. And Reverend Kathleen is going to have some instruction for us.
It's our first time singing. We'll be singing with Mass. So, of course, we can't just sing without something special. So we're going to be singing Come, Come, Whoever You Are. First, we will sing it all together, and Nancy will play it for us. And then we are going to sing it as a round. Yes, as a round, even with you who are online. So we'll sing it through once, and then Nancy will come down and we'll divide them, and then we'll sing it through 3 times as a round. And even with masks on, we are going to lift our voices with great joy in being together today. And the same with the children downstairs are seeing us. And children, we invite you to sing too. So you're going to be a part of the round as well. But let's sing it all together the first time. Nancy.
Wanderer, worshiper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
That was so good. We're going to do it 3 more times. But this time we are going to divide into 2 groups. So Nancy, where do you see it? Right down, which would be over here.
All right, Suzanne and Margaret
You're group 1 with Nancy, and online, children, you are in group 1, so you're going to be singing with Nancy 3 times through, and everybody else over here, you're with me. So how about if we rise in body or spirit?
Okay, here's our starting note. Here we go. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, whoever you be, wanderer, and lover of living, ours is no care and love is there. Come, yet again, whoever you are, wanderer, whoever you are, wanderer, and lover of living, ours is no care and love is there. Come, yet again, whoever you are, wanderer, whoever you are, wanderer, and lover of living, ours is no care and love is there. Come, yet again, come.
I bring you these opening words adapted from Marianne Cotter. Welcome to this place of possibility. This is love's hearth, the home of hope, a refuge for minds in search of truth unfolding, ever beautiful, ever strange. In this place, may we find comfort and courage for the journey. As here our sight becomes vision to see the unseen, to glimpse the good that is yet to be. Pilgrims, all are we. I invite Rick Cousins to come and light our chalice and lead us in our affirmation.
Please join me in reading, if you have an order of service, in reading the chalice lighting affirmation. Oh, I stand corrected. This is a change for me, pardon me. Please join me in reciting the chalice lighting affirmation. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant. Dwell together in peace, and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life.
Good morning. Morning. It is good to be together. I'm so happy that some of our children and youth are downstairs streaming this part of the service today on the religious education level of the fellowship hall. Hey everyone! In a few weeks, when all the children over age 5 have had the opportunity to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19, you'll be able to reunite more as the multi-generational community you are. But this week, while many of the kids have received their first shots, we celebrate this important but simple milestone of being on campus at the same time. If there are children and youth who happen to stay home today, I also invite you to come on over to the screen if you haven't already. Let's say the words for the children's affirmation, which are on the screen. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other. Our story is called We Got Here Together by Kim Stafford. Let's pretend it's a bedtime story. Stay where you are, but you can pretend that you're getting snugly under the covers so you can go to sleep. Let's use our imaginations. You get settled in your imagination and I'll tell you the story. Get cozy and I'll start. Once, in the deepest ocean, there was a little fish. Can you imagine that? A little fish in the deep ocean? That fish opened its mouth and let a bubble go. At the same moment, a cloud high over the ocean let a raindrop go. Imagine that. Way down in the deep, that bubble from that little fish started its journey. Its journey to the surface. And high in the sky, that raindrop started down. Would you be afraid? I might be afraid. But nothing can hurt a raindrop. Nothing can hurt a bubble. They belong where they're going. For a long time, that bubble drifted up through the water without hesitation, bumping a seal belly and bouncing off some seaweed leaf, rolling through the blue, floating toward that big ceiling of light. And the raindrop was spinning dizzy down, sliding along the shoulder of the wind, tumbling toward that silver field of water. They took so long falling down and soaring up, they grew. The bubbles swelled and filled with light. The raindrop gathered ready and round. Somehow, they were aimed for the exact same moment in time, and they got there together. Then what were they? The bubble opened and was the whole sky. The raindrop opened and was the whole ocean. There they were, sky and ocean, turning right where they belonged. And you and I, we got here together too, didn't we? We got here safe in the silver light where we belong. And if this was really a bedtime story, it would be time to be restful and quiet. So stay still and quiet for a moment. And those of you who are downstairs, I will be right there.
It is good to be in this quiet place, knowing that we got here together. As we enter a time of sharing our milestones, those great joys, those deep concerns that we have in our lives, we bring them here because this indeed is a safe space, a quiet space in which to share those, so that together we may celebrate and together we may hold the heaviness. Perhaps the heaviness that some of us felt this week as we listened to news, as we agonized justice. We work for it. Some of us pray for it, and it's complicated. But it's on a lot of hearts this morning. A lot of hearts here and hearts beyond. But there is so much more that is here. And so I want to invite those of you online to share your milestone by typing that in the chat. And as each week, I encourage you to leave the chat for just those milestones, and later you can comment on those. And here, if you would search your hearts in this time of quiet, and if you have a milestone you wish to share with the community, you can raise your hand, and our service coordinator, Rick, will call on you to come to the mic. We ask you to share your name, share your milestone. We will also be sharing those that are written in the chat. So Rick will alternate between here in person, and we want to hear yours as well online. Afterwards, we'll go into a time of silence again, and then come out singing our hymn of reflection, Spirit of Life. But let's start by sharing the milestones of our community. Rick? I will light a candle for any milestones that are being held but are not ready to be shared this morning. And then I will strike the singing bowl as we enter that time of silence, holding all that has been shared here, holding what you have brought today. Let us be in community, in silence, in sharing on this, our journey together.
Spirit of light, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots to me close, wings set me free. Spirit of light, come to me, come to me.
This morning's reading is entitled The Layers, and it comes from Stanley Kunitz. I've walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was, though some principle of being abides from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I'm compelled to look before I can gather strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn, exulting somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I need to go, and every stone on the road precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes.
It is now time for our congregational offering. If you're here for the first time, your presence here is your gift to us. Online members, please express your generosity by clicking the link posted in the chat to make a donation or pledge. While everyone is not here in our sacred space, our operating expenses remain the same. Please consider sending it using the simple give barcode up on the screen or in your order of service, or feel free to mail a check to 24 Clapboard Ridge Road here in Danbury. For those of you here in the fellowship hall, there will be someone at the door to accept offerings as you leave our service today. Please join me in the congregational offering. In the spirit of compassion and service, we dedicate these, our offerings.
Thank you, Nancy. The poet Mark Nepo writes, "To journey without being changed is to be a nomad. To change without journeying is to be a chameleon. To journey and to be transformed by the journey is to be a pilgrim. A pilgrim, one who journeys, a traveler who is on a journey as some definitions would say, to a holy or an awe-inspiring place. Pilgrimages are frequently thought of as a literal journey. We can just think of the journeys of immigrants, often risking life and limb in hopes of making a better life for their family. Immigration is a literal pilgrimage where some of those pilgrims might wind up in detention centers, denied basic human rights, exploited. Some spend years trying to gain citizenship, and some would have dreams destroyed and families broken apart. Some even lose their life in the process of this pilgrimage. This is why, as Unitarian Universalists, affirming and promoting the inherent worth and dignity of every person, our first principle, we work together for immigration reform as a part of our pilgrimage as a beloved community. Our mission, how many people are familiar with the fact that this congregation has a mission statement? I'm not even, okay, a few hands, but I'm not going to ask for hands because you might not, and I don't want you to be embarrassed. We have a mission. And that mission reads in part, we are an open religious community that welcomes a diversity of people, ideas, and beliefs. I'm going to repeat that once more. We are an open religious community that welcomes a diversity of people, ideas, and beliefs. It also reads, we stand as a beacon for independent thought and encourage lifelong spiritual and intellectual exploration. That's a statement of our values. That's a statement of what we as a congregation value, and it calls us to welcome those fellow travelers. The diversity of people, ideas, and beliefs. One thing that I love is that even one of our hymnals is called Singing the Journey. Come, come whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, come, yet again come. We welcome fellow travelers, and sometimes the pilgrimages that we embark upon are to literal, holy, and awe-inspiring places, whether it's the Holy Land, whether it's the Appalachian Trail. Sometimes these are literal pilgrimages, but I believe we also find ourselves on a never-ending pilgrimage to beloved community. For 199 years, if you didn't catch that in the welcome, 199 years, pilgrims have journeyed week after week, month after month, year after year to this community in all of its iterations. They've made a pilgrimage to this community and to what it can and will be. It's an interior journey of the heart, and that pilgrimage never ends. I also know that some of you have experience with embarking on a pilgrimage of discovery and courage, not a literal journey, but perhaps even last month. In October, you or someone that you love reflected on a coming out journey, a journey of discovery and courage. And the work in this congregation to support the LGBTQ community is, again, part of our pilgrimage. And there are times when that pilgrimage of discovery and courage is the one that led us to Unitarian Universalism. It is the one that led us here. I know I can say it was the case for me. Some of these journeys are planned, many times they are not. But no matter the pilgrimage, we are fellow travelers. Pilgrims all are we. And this morning, I am really thrilled to be able to have one of my friends that I met on a pilgrimage I made to a small country in Africa almost 10 years ago. And I went there with two other Unitarian Universalist ministers from the United States to see others who were working on emerging Unitarian congregations in East Africa, and to a small Unitarian church in Bujumbura, the capital city. That is where I met Cassius, a dear friend he has become, a fellow traveler. This is Cassius with his wife, Carimbella, and his 4 boys. But I asked him to join us this morning via Zoom because I want you to hear just a very small bit of his pilgrimage. He is, after all, a fellow traveler to us all. Now, I want to just let you know that this morning we had some technical difficulties. And so I am hoping we will see him. More importantly, I'm hoping we will be able to hear him. So as we tell the children, really put on the listening ears and turn the volume up. Cassius, I am going to ask you to speak as closely to the mic and perhaps as loudly as you do when you need to get your children's attention. But I welcome you, Cassius, to our service this morning, and I introduce you to my beloved community.
Thank you, Catherine. Can you hear me, Catherine?
Yes, Cassius, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for to introduce me to your community. I don't know if it's the better time for me to speak or if I can wait. I don't know.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Cassius Shirambere. I'm 45 years old. I'm married to Carimbella. We are a big family with 4 sons. 2 sons were born back home in Burundi. It's a small country in East Africa, and it's bordered by Rwanda, and Tanzania, and Democratic Republic of Congo. Romeo and Joshua came with us from Burundi, and Chris and Jace were born in USA. Understand that regarding to USA law, I have 2 sons with Burundian citizen and 2 Americans. My family and I have been living in Maine almost 10 years. Back home in my country, I was working for a peace and development organization called Association Bonne Semence, which I was the founder as an executive director. At the same time, I was serving the Unitarian Church in Burundi as president of the board. I did get some opportunity to meet and know other Unitarian evangelists, such as your minister, Catherine. Some human rights activities were conducted by my team and I in my country, especially monitoring of cases of human rights violation. At the end of 2012, like other civil society activists, I was in danger with Burundi government police looking to kill me because of my work in human rights sector. I was accused of submitting some human rights violation reports to Burundi government donors, such as USA and other European countries. My family and I had to leave country and come to USA and apply for asylum. This transition of moving from Burundi to USA was a big change and very hard for my family and I. Starting new life, new culture, learning English, new weather, struggling with snow for the first time in life, create new friends and other. This is a good opportunity for me to be thankful for many of Unitarian investors around in USA for their love, generosity, their support financially and moral. I send many thanks to Unitarian investors in New Jersey, Michigan, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Oregon. I really imagine who my family and I should be without Unitarian investors to congregation members around the world. All things I went through inspired me how we can make great the world, love each other, support each other. Since last year, with just a little money that I can save after my family expense, I decided to help more than 100 students in poverty with school equipment such as notebook, pens, and other stuff at my old school back home where I was born. This year, through the parents, through my organization, Association Bon Semence, again, using my own small amount that I can raise from my monthly income, I initiated a small project of agriculture in order to create income generating activities. And this is helping more than 50 women in extreme poverty recently come back in the country after they had fled the country to Tanzania and Rwanda since 2015. Most of them have like 5 or 6 family members to support, which means more than 150 persons are getting benefit from that small project. I used my own land left by my parents to let this project happen in order to help these families to get some food for their kids, get some need for school, change positively environment, give hope of life to many families, and willing keep helping them from people who may feel the pain of people go through in the world. My pilgrimage to this country was very difficult, but I had to do it for the safety of my family. I had help along the way from Unitarian investors and others that I'm grateful for. Since that time, even my family and I are still adjusting to life in Maine. We miss our family and friends in Burundi and want to help them on their pilgrimage. Helping is a part of our journey today, and I hope it's a part of your journey as well. Thank you so much for everybody.
Thank you, Cassius. It's a glimpse into Cassius's literal pilgrimage. In case you didn't hear, he was the founder of an executive director of an organization that monitored human rights violations. And after a trip to the United States, when he went back, the government was afraid he would be reporting to donors, which would be the US and other European countries, and so his life was threatened. He knew without a doubt that he would have been killed had he not left. So he grabbed his family and they came here. What I love about Cassius's story is that it doesn't stop there. That was just a part of his pilgrimage, because for him it was so important to then help others. So in land that belonged to his parents, and he can never go back. Make sure you are aware of that. Once they have gone under those circumstances, they will never be able to return. So family and friends are distant. But on family land, he gave it to these other pilgrims so that they could have income generating work with an agricultural project. He took what little money he had after his family expenses in Portland, Maine, to provide school supplies at the school he went to as a child in Burundi. What I love about Cassius's story is that he sees that continuing to help fellow travelers as the continuation of his own pilgrimage. I really cannot imagine the peril that a family must feel to leave everything behind and flee in a pilgrimage of asylum. But just like that bubble and raindrop, we got here together. You and I and Cassius. Fellow travelers, even though our individual pilgrimages appear quite different. There's something really extraordinary about this idea of pilgrimage and how it impacts our lives in our community. And it comes from a man who ironically planned at one time in his life to become an Anglican clergyman. And I say ironically because instead, his pilgrimage led him to share a most controversial, religiously controversial idea: evolution. Evolution, development from earlier forms, a developmental process. Before Darwin, because of course I'm talking about Charles Darwin, before Darwin, species were seen as permanent creations from a deity who made them in the exact form that we find them today. But after Darwin, we understand that all living things have evolved over hundreds of millions of years. And we as individuals, we as a community, evolve in part through our pilgrimages, our experiences, our learning. Evolution is essential to our development in becoming more fully human, in actually becoming spiritually mature. Think about evolution around our ideas of social justice. This congregation voted to recognize an 8th principle, to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. Evolution of our ideas around social justice, as I mentioned last week, by being grounded in gratitude when it comes to our social justice work, rather than being grounded in anger. These are evolutions, and those evolutions are part of our pilgrimage as a community. 16th century Transylvania, the folks scoffed at the man named Francis David. They said, he starts out Roman Catholic, then becomes a Lutheran, then a Calvinist, and now he calls himself a Unitarian. What will he conceivably be tomorrow? To which David reported to have said, semper reformanda, always reforming. You see, for Unitarian Universalists, for us, Revelation is not sealed. We are part of a living tradition. We celebrate a living tradition that is always evolving. Matthew Fox, a leading voice of contemporary spirituality, describes pilgrims by saying, pilgrims are not know-it-all people. Not know-it-all people, but seeking people. A pilgrim is one who does not have all the answers. A pilgrim is not steeped in righteousness, but in humility, with an awareness that we must all be willing to learn together. A pilgrim people are keenly aware that the journey does not end. A pilgrim doesn't have all the answers. That supports so beautifully that portion of our mission that I stated, that we stand as a beacon for independent thought and encourage lifelong spiritual and intellectual exploration. And it also mirrors the fourth principle. I'm not going to get all 8 of them in here, but I got the first, I got the 8th. It also mirrors our fourth principle. We affirm and promote a responsible search for truth and meaning. We are not a congregation for one belief system. We are not a congregation for one way of doing Sunday services based on one belief system. We base our mission on our values. And we look for a diversity of people, ideas, and beliefs. Evolution constitutes the way we do religion. Think about that. Evolution constitutes the way we do religion. We're challenged to make decisions and take actions that advance civilization as a whole, rather than negotiate moves that just feather our own little nest. We aspire to be visionaries. As evolutionists, we urge people to take a risk and open life's doors. We are pilgrims on an evolutionary expedition, and our expedition will never be completed. As our reading said, we are not done with our changes. There's a Celtic saying that says, life is a pilgrimage from the beginning and the place of our birthing to the place of our rising. So I share these words from Life as Pilgrimage, a view from Celtic spirituality. Pilgrims can't be bogged down by where they've been. They can't be weighed down by their past burdens. Pilgrims don't borrow worries from the future, nor grief or guilt from the past. Pilgrims live life focused on the fullness of life that is within this day, the day at hand, and revealed in the surroundings before them. We carry only what we need, the opposite of our society's acquisitive nature, hoarding and accumulating. We hold things lightly, gently, openly, graciously. We desire freedom for ourselves and hence for all things and all others. We are fully present to the present moment, keeping an eye on the horizon, celebrating where we are and remembering where we are bound. We don't get attached in our remorse to the bad times. Things happen. Life has its ebb and flow, its high and low, and in all things, we remember the philosopher's dictum, this too shall pass. For the pilgrim, for you and I, the place we seek is not to be seized, not to be controlled or owned by any one. Journeying to a sacred place, be it literal or a journey interior of the heart, requires us to remove our shoes, to tread with a lightness, to be silent, to listen, to open one's heart, and to remember the nimbus-clouded voice. Live in the layers. May it be so.
As we approach the end of our service, please join me in our reading for Extinguishing the Chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again.
Okay. Our hymn, Sing Out Praises for the Journey. I'm going to play through the melody one time, so if you aren't familiar, you'll be a little more familiar in a minute.
Let's rise above your spirit.
Ready and sing, sing out praises for the journey, pilgrims we who carry on, searchers in the soul's deep yearning, like our forebears in their time. We seek out the Spirit's wholeness in the endless human quest. Look inside your souls, the kindling of the hearth fire, pilgrims find the Spirit always restless, find it in each mind and heart, touched and holding ancient yearning, kindling for a newfound truth. Stand we now upon the threshold, facing futures yet unknown. Hearts behind us, grace unhostile, filled by those who do wild wrong. Heart we air their sacred embers, carried in our minds and hearts.
If you have come here seeking community, may we be your friends. If you have come here seeking God, may God go with you. If you have come here seeking spiritual renewal, may you leave here strengthened in faith and renewed in hope. If you have come here seeking a way, may a path be found on your journey, fellow traveler, step by step. Shalom. Salam. Amen. Blessed be to each and all. Namaste.
Namaste.